Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Wednesday, the 26th of July. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined by a full-strength squad this morning. First of all, Johnny McFarlane over there on the left wing. How are we doing, Johnny?
Yeah, good, mate. Very, very happy to be here with Adam. Always nice to come on a morning briefing and see a friendly, happy face that isn't your Joshua.
Can't disagree with that too much. Adam Thornton also joins us. How are we doing, Adam?
Pretty good now. I'll switch my mic on, yep.
Superb stuff. Right, let's talk Rangers, guys, because there's plenty to talk about. Of course, it's game day, the third home pre-season friendly at Ibrox, when Olympiacos come to town. Can't remember Rangers taking on Olympiacos before. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, folks. But looking forward to this one as Rangers gear up for the season ahead. Of course, we'll get Hoffenheim away on Saturday as well. Before we look ahead to the game, however, just want to discuss transfer news, of course. Now, reports over in the Netherlands state that Feyenoord have accepted Rangers' £6 million bid for the striker Danilo. So it's just a matter of time now about when he'll be holding the scarf aloft, Johnny, and signing for Rangers. Seems like a major breakthrough in this. Of course, it's a player that Michael Beale has spoken of his admiration for. They've chased him for some time now. And now it looks like it's only a matter of time before he's paraded in front of the fans.
Yeah, I would expect Cifuentes and Danilo to be both arriving at some point later in the week, or to be certainly sealed at some point later in the week. This is going to be, especially with Danilo, a very, very exciting signing. Can't remember the last time Rangers signed a Brazilian. Was it Emerson?
No, Edmilson Kribari.
Yeah.
Banter era. Well, it wasn't much fun, I've got to say.
He was so good that I've forgotten completely about him. But there's always a tinge of excitement for Brazilian players, adding a little bit of a samba quality. I know he's now declared for the Dutch national team, but I still want to claim him as a Brazilian because you give that extra frisson of excitement and flair, the expectation of flair, should I say. So listen, I think he's going to add an awful lot. I've watched a little bit about him. I've read the scout reports, and it's just yet another high quality attacking player to add to that front line. Adam's talked before about feeling like the front line was looking pretty good with Sima, Dessers, Roof, et al. Already in there, Lammers. Well, now you're adding just another level of quality with another £6 million player. Rangers really haven't beaten around the bush when it comes to improving that area this season, have they? And it's going to be very exciting to see how it all comes together. Let's just get our fingers crossed that it does.
Yeah, the Danilo signing, Adam, that I'd imagine that'll be it in terms of the forward areas. That leaves them a bit top heavy though for me. I think. Would you imagine there might be an outgoing there at some point in those forward areas? But are you happy? Are you satisfied with the business that Rangers have done this summer in terms of addressing that key position in the forward line?
Definitely happy, and I think you're right. I think we could probably lose two of the attackers that are there and not really feel like we didn't have enough options, obviously depending on which ones it was. But yeah, I think really happy. I think Danilo will be good. I think he, for me, sort of pulls it all together. I think up there, we've got maybe your Dessers as the sort of target man. Then we've got players that can maybe play off the front. Danilo, I think, will be one of those kind of mobile hybrid strikers that we've been looking for, or I've been looking for, certainly, to come into Rangers. Someone who can contribute in both phases of play, someone who knows where the goal is. Really, really good off the ball, which I think is something that will be quite interesting to see. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. I think the mix is good. I think there's some good options in there when you factor in Sakala, Sima, and Roof maybe coming off the bench or certainly starting every other game. So I'm really, really excited about that. I think the focus now needs to move on to outgoings and see if we can maybe clear some others off the wage bill and get some money back in. But yeah, more than meets my expectations in terms of numbers of players coming in, money spent, quality coming in. So I'm pretty happy on the face of it.
You could say two could be let go. Who would be your two players you'd be happy to see depart, do you reckon?
I think right now, for me, if I was looking at it, And obviously it depends on, do we let someone go who might contribute a little bit more, but we could get more money for, and vice versa. But I think on the face of it, taking money out of the equation, for me, it would be maybe Matondo and Wright would be the two that could probably leave, that we wouldn't see as much of an impact on the first team. I would be keen to keep Sakala around. I think he'll be useful throughout this season. But again, if someone comes in with the type of money being talked about, £4 or £5 million for someone who I think most people will say won't be a first pick this season, I think that'd be quite hard to turn down.
Yeah. Scott Wright, Johnny, he's appeared back at Rangers training. What's going on there? Of course, we know he jetted off. Was it the start of this week or last tail end of last week to, I think it was Sunday, in fact, if I'm not mistaken, to Turkey to speak to Pendikspor about a potential move away. But he's been pictured back at the training ground. What's going on there?
Well, I don't have any information at the moment. Michael Beale will obviously be asked about this tonight after the game, so we'll find out then. What I would say, Derek, is I wouldn't read too much into it either way, because if the player was to decide that he was going to move to Turkey, he'd probably want to come back and put his life in order here. And while he's doing that, you might want to stay fit. Remember, footballers only train for a couple hours a day. It's not like a real job where you're stuck in your desk for 8, 9, 10 hours. You know, you go in and you do your work and then you're back to it. So it could mean that he's not fancying that move to Turkey. It could mean that he is. And I think a rush to judgment on it is unwise. So I think we'll find out and get a bit more clarity from Michael Beale. The thing was, I never felt the Scott Wright deal was done. He was going out there to have a look. You just had to look at the profile of the club to get a sense that it wasn't necessarily going to be 100% something that Scott Wright would snap your hand off for.
Yeah,
I think that the stadium holds 2,500 people. It's a real small club that's got major financial backing, which is why they could afford to bring Scott Wright in. And he might just think, at this stage of my career, I'd rather be going to a bigger club that's more in line with what I was used to at Rangers, rather than taking a big step back the way. And if you look at the stadium and you look at probably, I would imagine, the facilities as well.
Yeah, just on that, Michael Beale was speaking last week. He was asked about Scott Wright. He says, Scotty this summer has had 1 or 2 inquiries. He's at an age where he wants to go and play regularly. He also says we'll be speaking to 1 or 2 people and then maybe make some decisions for himself. So there might be other clubs, of course, that are keen on taking him to their club. I think he'll do a job. I think we all wish him well wherever he goes, but I think he's one that is set for pastures new. Glenn Kamara is another one, Adam, that's sort of gone a bit quiet. You shake your head here. There was talk of him moving on. I know that Leeds United, he's been heavily linked there, but one of a number of players that they were keen on. I know they brought in Ampadu recently, so I'm not too sure if that cools their interest in Kamara. But that seems to have gone a bit quiet, is it not?
It has. I don't think Ampadu will cool that. I think they need probably another 2 central midfielders in. They're letting everybody go on loan. They had all these relegation release clauses on loan, so they've lost a fair few. I think Mark Roca's went back to Spain as well. Tyler Adams is rumoured with going somewhere. So I don't think it kills it, but yes, shaking my head because it's always a saga, isn't it, for us, whether it's players coming in. Cifuentes, I think, has been linked since March or April, and now Kamara has been linked with a move for the best part of 18 months. It never seems to go very, very quickly. But fingers crossed they can get that one done. I think that's a good move for him as well. I think going to Leeds, possession dominant in the Championship, you would imagine, will suit him really well, and he can go and sort of kickstart his career. But for us, I think this is the summer that we really need to be selling him to get anywhere close to what I think his value is. £4 or £5 million would be excellent, I think, at this stage. So fingers crossed that one can get done.
Yeah, anyone who watches the briefing would not be surprised by this information, given when all the speculation was at its height and people were saying it was a done deal. You did ask me about it, and I did tell you that that wasn't the case. So I think it's still got a little bit to run yet, if that was to be the case, regarding Leeds. And I think there's other clubs that are interested as well. So I don't think you should just take it as read that he'll go there. But there is interest. There's no doubt about that. But I don't think that's imminent, put it that way.
Yeah, right, let's get to a few of the comments that come in. Xander says, Wright is here for 56. Big Scott Wright fan, of course, is Xander. Jeeb making us all jealous. He's watching us from sunny Florence this morning. You've been there. Have you both been there?
Yep.
Yeah.
I bet it's sweaty Florence right now, never mind sunny.
Yeah, I'm jealous, even though it would be 45 degrees or whatever. You plenty of places that are nice to go inside in Florence, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's someplace. And just on Danilo, G. Harper says, still gutted we missed out on Jardel. High hopes for Danilo. I'm also still gutted about that. I remember, I think it was 95 he was training with Rangers. We've seen him with a picture with him in the jersey before red tape scuppered the move, and then he would go on and score goals for fun for the likes of Porto, scored against Rangers for Galatasaray, of course, in that Champions League encounter. What a player he was, Johnny.
Oh, yeah, terrific finisher. There's all sorts of stories around that Jardel training session where he turned up and how he played. I've heard...
Yeah, it looked hopeless, I think.
Well, I've heard different versions of it from different people over the years, but one thing for sure, it was a real missed opportunity, because if you looked at his goal-scoring records at Porto and certainly at Galatasaray, which we saw for ourselves when Rangers played them in the Champions League, how deadly he was one of the best finishers in Europe for a long period of time, although I think his career went quite sharply north and he had quite a number of problems later on. I think he ended up in Bolton, Derek, so you should know a little bit about that.
Yeah, he was past his best by the time he got to Bolton, that's for sure.
Yeah, and of course there was not only the widespread excitement about Jardel, there was the massive excitement about Karen Jardel arriving. It's impossible.
I wonder what she's up to now.
I think they split up after a few years, but that was one that I always remember, is that everyone was extremely excited about Mrs. Jardel.
Adam, those were the days when Rangers could go out and buy these exotic players at will. This summer feels a little bit like that, like Danilo coming in. There's a lot of excitement around. Money has been spent as well. There's plenty of optimism, isn't there?
Definitely. And I think you can look at Michael Beale's comments pre-transfer window, where he said quite a lot of the players will have links to myself. I think most people assumed that meant it was going to be Championship players, but I think probably what he means from that is players that he's kept an eye on for a number of years, which obviously we wouldn't really know about, wouldn't be able to make the link there, but certainly does seem like an eclectic mix. Guys like Cifuentes, obviously coming from Ecuador into America, will be ones that we maybe wouldn't have expected. I know we have tapped into that market, maybe not with the best success, but maybe not one we would have expected to come over. And then I think, given how people were desperate for Rangers to sign Dutch players when Van Bronckhorst was here, it's quite ironic that we've now signed 3 players that have played in Holland over the last 18 months or so. So yeah, it's definitely far flung. I always thought that was a little bit overplayed anyway. People were saying, "Oh, we just shop in the Championship." When you look at some of the signings that have came in, like last summer, for example, with Cholak and Matondo, and some of the other ones, it has been pretty far flung. It's just that sort of high profile thing when you just assume Rangers are going to sign bargain basements from the Championship. But actually, there's been just as many from abroad, so it's good to see that continuing. But like we say, the most important thing is just that they're good players for me, not necessarily where they come from. But absolutely, signing players from the Eredivisie, from Serie A, you would hope is going to raise the technical level of the team, which is what we're looking for.
Yeah, definitely. Kev Armstrong, just on the issue of strikers, buying strikers in the 90s. On this day in 95, we signed Selenko. He might be the slowest player I have ever seen. What a player he was at the World Cup in 94, Johnny. But when he scored, I think he was joint top scorer in the tournament. He scored 5 goals in one game.
Against Cameroon, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that didn't quite work at Ibrox, did it?
No, he was incredibly sloth-like. He was just so slow to react to anything. I don't know what happened, because he wasn't old. But when he arrived, he just looked like he was playing in a different pace of game, like an old guy's game or something like that. It just, it really didn't work. He looked awful. Very, very rare to see a player come in that just looked so bad from the get-go and just didn't really offer anything.
Yeah.
I don't know if like Spanish football would have been a better fit for him, etc., etc. I know he'd played there, but he didn't even show that he had like real good technical skill. Like with someone like Gabriel Amato who came later, you'd say, okay, he just suits a more technical league. He is slow, but the pace of his feet is incredible, and he's got a trick. And so in a less hurly-burly league, he will look good. But Solenko just didn't have anything. And it's strange because he did have a decent goal-scoring record for the rest of his career, but he certainly didn't show it when he was at Rangers. And he was one of those players that, you know, I think Basil Bolly's the other one that you were really excited about them coming in around that time. And it just did not work. And it was wasted. I think between the two of them, that would have been about £5-6 million.
Yeah,
so,
and of course, they sold him for a swap deal for Peter Van Vossen, if you recall. And it did, well, Peter Van Vossen, to his credit, I mean, he will always be remembered for that miss, but he was a really good technical player.
Yeah.
Scored a cracking goal at Rugby Park, if my memory serves me right,
and
went on and done really well at Feyenoord.
Was that the game Gaza scored 2 as well, and he scored from the byline?
I think yes. But if he puts it in at Parkhead, then we all remember him very fondly, don't we? But let's live with him throughout since then. Just on Solenko, Alan Hall says, walking football, still game style. Yeah, he's more suited to that, I'd imagine. Yeah. Johnny, in terms of back to the here and now, if Cifuentes and Danilo, of course, heading over, is that the business done for you, or would you like to see more business carried out? I know that yesterday I was on with Stevie. He still wants to see a centre half coming in. Do Rangers need a centre back?
I'm not sure they do. To be honest, I would like another centre back, but I think when you've got Balogun, Goldson, Davies, Leon King's not going to be out for an awful long time. You've got Who's the other one?
Young lad, Yefeko.
Yeah, Yefeko. There's one more that I've missed out on. I can't remember who.
Balogun. Did you mention him?
Who?
Did you mention Balogun?
Yeah. Anyway, I think there's a good depth in there, and I think, to be honest, I've said this before. I know it's not popular. I think Ben Davies is underrated and will give you a lot in a lot of games that Rangers play. Whether he's good enough or not defensively for the biggest games, I think will be open to question. I understand that debate. But if you're talking about playing against Ross County and Kilmarnock and St Mirren, Ben Davies has got everything you need for those games in terms of moving the ball quickly and moving the ball accurately. And he fits into a back three quite nicely. John Souters, by the way, is the one that I've forgotten, which is unfair given how good he's been since he arrived. So I just think... I think there's more depth than people realise there or give credit for. I just think a lot of Rangers fans have maybe decided that they're not having Ben Davies. But I think he's a useful player and I think he's got a lot to give. And as I say, I know it's not popular, but it's just, I'm not going to lie about it. That's how I feel about it. And, you know, if Stevie was on, he'd be gearing up for a boxing match right now. But I know Adam sort of kind of agrees with me on this. So, Adam, fire in.
So this is quite a tricky one because do we need one in terms of numbers that are there? No. But is there a feeling that we've got enough quality options there? I think probably no as well for me. And the reason for that, I guess, is all of the reasons that people will say. Every single one of the centre backs that we're talking about there has been injured within the last 6 weeks, never mind 6 months. They've had something that's been a knock, which it isn't, and it isn't the first time for them. I think, which is my problem. So yeah, I'm fine with Davies and I'm fine with Suter rotating that slot. And this was going to sound silly, as long as we pick the exact moments that we maximise Suter's strengths and we maximise Davies' strengths. I think if we can do that, and if both players are fit and they're sort of rotating in there, I'm not hugely concerned about it, to be honest. Obviously, Suter, for me, I think as far as Scottish football is concerned and as far as the physicality, I think he's the one that I would like to see starting with Goldson. However, injuries, maybe other games that we want to play someone else in there, I think Davies absolutely fine. Balogun, if he can stay fit, I think would be a really good option. However, I just wonder if I wonder if we jumped the gun a little bit on the Balogun one, just because he was with QPR at the training camp. Obviously, you would assume that contract negotiations were ongoing at that point. Have we maybe just jumped the gun because we thought Leon King was going to be out for a bit longer than he was, and we thought, right, we'll get him in, and then we'll try and get someone else. And then with King coming back in weeks, it sounds like, rather than months, maybe that's sort of put us in a bit of a situation, because although Balogun's coming in on a free and it's a year's contract, it's still wages. We're still carrying a really big squad. We're still increasing the wages a fair bit with the players that are coming in. So I just wonder there. Or Derek, has he maybe looked at it and thought, I really could do with Danilo coming in up top here, therefore I'll go for Balogun and I'll sort of even that out in terms of a squad and value type thing. I'll go for a more reliable option at centre-back that's maybe cheaper. I know someone I can trust. Obviously, injury issues are getting on, etc. But will I do that as a kind of sticking plaster, if you like, and then go all out for Danilo? That's the only sort of thing I can think maybe that's happened, other than we maybe just pushed the button on Balogun before realising how King's injury was. So I would still like one in, but there's numbers there. There's 4 full senior centre halves, and then you've got King and you've got Ufeko in there as well. The only other thing I could possibly see would be if Barisic was to go, and again, that's another one that seemed to be rumoured and disappeared. If Barisic went and Panzo was coming in, then he could maybe fill both slots. As Skylark has just said, someone like that who can come in and cover that is the only other way I could see it without anyone going. And on Davies, I think for me, I do agree with Jonny overall, but I think Davies needs to show more on the ball. He's never going to have that sort of dominant physicality that I think you need in Scottish football. You do need that. He is good on the ball, but I need to see loads more. I need to see him playing more aggressive passes, being more risky with his delivery, getting involved in 1-2s with Raskin and Yilmaz. I need to see a lot more of that, because that's his strengths, and I think he needs to be accentuating those strengths. And then we as a team, or as a coaching staff, as a defence, need to be trying to minimise his weaknesses, which are in the air. So I think that would be key if he's going to play more. We need to see more from him, and I think that's logical. Difficult second season syndrome, difficult first season syndrome. Moving into an easier second season wouldn't be outlandish for me. I could see that happening, but I think he needs to just do a little bit more.
Yeah, I just want to clarify. I would welcome a really top class centre back coming in. Of course, you always welcome really good players. But you also have to be wary of balancing the squad properly. If another one does come in, then you have to ask the question, well, what do you do with Leon King? What do you do with Ufeko? How do you manage that setup? You've already got Balogun, Suter, Goldson, Davies, another one coming in. So you've got to imagine then that there'd be one going out. So I think there's a lot of questions, and Adam's absolutely right about Balogun coming in. It does provoke discussion about how Rangers are going to position that area of the squad for the season ahead, and I wonder if it'll come down to whether or not someone's available, or as Adam has already said, whether or not a fullback goes out and then that allows a hybrid type player coming in. But this is core to how Rangers are going to play. If they're going to play a back three in some games, we've not really seen that in pre-season, unless Adam can tell me something that I've missed. Perhaps Michael Beale doesn't feel like he's got the setup for it in terms of the playing squad, but I would have thought Ben Davies would be perfect for the left centre-back role, John Suter perfect for the right centre-back. So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion I'd like to see Ufeko and King go out on loan this season. I think they'll learn a lot as opposed to training with the first team. Ufeko maybe slightly less. He's a tad younger than King, isn't he? If I'm not mistaken. But yeah, certainly.
He's younger than Ufeko. Ufeko's 20. King's 19.
Wow, I never realised that. It just shows you how young King was pitched in last season, wasn't it? But because of the injuries and what have you, it was a real baptism of fire for him. But yeah, it's one that the manager will have to resolve. I guess, there's still a lot of time left in the transfer window as well. Who's to say there won't be a club looking to prize Ben Davies away at some point? I think he's a likely one, Adam, of all the centre-backs that could possibly depart, you'd imagine. Yeah,
and that's, I guess we're in a fortunate position in that we've got Cifuentes and Danilo coming in, we sort of plugged the gaps, if you like, there, and it's just a case of we can almost, I don't want to say sit and wait, because it feels like we've been waiting for some of these players to leave for a while, but it doesn't impact our team if maybe guys like Kamara would be leaving. I would even extend that out to maybe even a Barisic. We've got another player in there who, for me, I think will probably be the starter in Ridvan. So we can afford to sort of take our time there, waiting until clubs get desperate, or waiting until nearer the window and clubs then decide what they want to do. We've sort of got that luxury. And if that happens with Ben Davies, then we might be able to go out and get another top centre half. That's fine. But in the meantime, Suter is still there as a perfectly good option while that other centre half is coming in, getting settled, etc. So we do hold the cards on that side. I guess the only concern is the size of the squad and the wage bill. We do need to be getting upwards of 4 or 5 players out, but hopefully we can get that done, and the focus now moves to that over the next month or so.
Yeah, let's get to a couple of comments before we look ahead to the game this evening. Nick Brown, good day, Nick, he says, still loving the daily shows from Perth, Western Australia. Any update on Ross Wilson replacement? From what I heard last, Rangers were looking to speak to some candidates with a possibility of replacing Ross Wilson as the sporting director of football, and sort of take the responsibility off Michael Beale, who's been doing a lot of that work this summer. I don't have any update apart from that, Jonny. I think that was a few weeks ago now. But how important is it Rangers get someone in to fill that void, or is it a pressing issue that they need to address pretty sharpish?
Well, I think it can be a short-term fix that they don't, but in the medium to long term, I think it's obvious that a club of Rangers size needs someone who can join all the departments together. They need someone who's overarching, who's looking at the big picture, who's tracking performance, managing the individuals, and ensuring that it's all tied together. Because if you've got departments doing their own thing, it never works. It needs to be part of a streamlined unit that is all working towards the same goals. Because ultimately, the youth system feeds into the men's team. The scouting team feeds into the management team. It's symbiosis. It's every part kind of is a building block that affects another part. So I always think you need someone that's looking over that. Last time I spoke to someone at Rangers about this was a few weeks ago, and they were saying that it's just ongoing, and they're taking their time to find the right candidate. As with many of the positions that they're trying to fill, and I noticed this week that Rangers are now looking for a managing director for the women's team after the departure of Amy McDonald. So I think there's a lot of recruitment going on, and this will be just one of those that is filled, I would imagine, in the near future. But it's definitely something in my view that needs to be done, and needs to be done certainly in the medium term, Derek, because every modern club of any kind of standing in Europe, by a massive percentage, has one of these positions.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we look at the game tonight, we just send our condolences to Aldo. He says, just want to say RIP Uncle Titch, who sadly taken away from us yesterday. Massive fan of the Rangers review, and obviously he was obsessed with Rangers. Sad day for the McNaughts. Rest easy, Olgin. But we send our condolences, Aldo, to yourself and your friends and family. It's always a sad day to lose a loved one. Let's get to tonight's game then, lads. The question coming in here from Day in a Life. Give me your starting 11, lads. Myself and Joshua have our predicted teams on the website. Folks, do go and check them out. Perhaps a surprise starter for me. I've got in my team, I've got young Bailey Rice starting the game. I just want to see more of him. Adam, we'll come to you first. Should we expect much of the same team that started on Saturday, do you think? Or do you think Michael Beale will make a few changes tonight?
I'd love Cantwell to play twice, as you put in your lineup. First of all, that would be top class. I think we're probably now going to start to see. I think he's experimented. Myself and Joshua did that video on the members site last night for you guys, which was showing how we had sort of lined up in a 4-3-3 in one half and a 4-3-1-2 in another half in both these games. But I think we're probably now going to start to see what he's looking to get in his team to be leading up to next weekend. So I think we'll start to see that. I'm not quite sure what was going on with Ryan Jack at the weekend, if he was just taken out for a bit, or if there was a knock or anything. We'll obviously hear more from the manager on that tonight. But assuming that, I think it's probably going to be as strong as we think. So for me, it will be Butland, Tavernier, Suter, Davies, Redvan. I think we'll then see Raskin coming in at the base of midfield, which is where we want him to be. I've been really impressed with Dowell. I think that these 2 games, he's always, for me, been a really nice footballer. But I just think that out of possession piece that he gives a little bit more energy than I thought, or that you might think from his style in the first 2 games. So I'd like to see him continuing in the midfield with probably Cantwell next to him. And then up front, I think I would really like to see Lammers, Dessers and Sima as a 3, certainly to start the game, just to see how things go there. That would be what I would be going for as a start. Yeah.
Did you go along with that, Johnny? Is anyone else you want to see tonight?
I'd like to see Lammers, Dessers and Roof. I've said for a long time that I'm a huge fan of Kemar Roof. I think he's a really top player in the context of the Scottish Premiership. If he's fit and firing and sharp, I don't think there's many, if any, better. And to me, in that cameo that he had at the weekend, I thought he looked very sharp. His movement was good. He looked physically very strong. And I think when Kemar Roof is looking like that, you try and exploit it. Now, Michael Beale talked previously about how he would like to see those 2 as a front 2. They're quite similar. I think Roof is a clever enough player that he can get in and around the pitch and move into different positions. So if Roof is in good shape, if he's absolutely free of injury and free of knocks, absolutely right to go, then I would give him a chance up front alongside Dessers. But I can also see the benefit of playing Sima up there and just having a look at him. But to me, he's had 2 starts, 2 45-minute starts, and I would just like to see something a little different. But this is the excitement of this pre-season and of this squad that Michael Beale is building. There's so many options, there's so many permutations, and he has the ability to really change how he's going to play by just using different players, because the stylistic differences will allow him to make quite profound differences even in the same formation. I think that's really fascinating.
Yeah. My team, I'm sure off the top of my head, I think I've kept the same backline. I think I've got John Suter coming back in for Leon Balogun. And up front, I've got Sakala playing off Cyril Dessers. I think Dessers deserves to start. We'd like to see him start the match, I think, just to build up his fitness with these huge games coming up. And of course, incidentally, Rangers' 3rd qualifying round. Potential opponents were playing last night in their first leg. It was 1 apiece between Servette and Genk. So that second leg takes place a week today, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll find out then who Rangers will face in that 3rd qualifying round. Both will be formidable opponents, of course. But I think Rangers should be expected to, with the team and the squad that they're building here, to take care of whoever they will be facing. Right, I think that'll do us here. Just a quick word on our Rangers Live, Rangers Review Live event that takes place on Friday, folks. There is a small number of tickets remaining. If you want to head along and meet myself, Johnny, Joshua, Stevie and Barry Ferguson on Friday, then head over to the new Edmondson House website. Get your tickets, £21.50. That includes a booking fee. You can buy tickets on the door, but we encourage you to get them beforehand just to avoid any disappointment. Doors open at 6:30. We aim to kick off at 7 p.m. It'll be an hour of chat. We'll have a bit of a break for a refreshment or 2, and then we'll get Barry on the stage to talk about his Rangers career and his thoughts for the season ahead. So really looking forward to it. Cannot wait to meet many of you in person as well. It's sure to be a cracking night. We'll wrap up there for today. Big thanks to Adam.
Cheers, Derek.
And Johnny, also plenty coming your way on the Rangers Review site, so keep your eyes peeled on the website and also on our YouTube channel as well. We'll be back again tomorrow, myself and Stevie at the earlier time of 9 a.m. because I need to catch a train up to Glasgow. So we'll be on at 9 a.m. So one for your diary, folks. We'll speak to you again then. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Bye for now.